Hi everyone, welcome back. So last time I talked about how to set up a rubric, but I didn't really have a lot of time to discuss setting up an assignment specifically or a discussion forum. So in this video, I'm going to talk about assignments, and then next time I will be talking about discussion forums. So for this exercise, I'm going to be in our empty course shell, our little sandbox here in Brightspace. There's my little smiling face. So you can create an assignment by going up here to assignments. That's really the easiest place that you can go to create them, but you can go to content as well. So I'm going to show you that just real quick, and then we're going to use assignments because I think it's easier. So this is a test module that I've set up. My last video in this series is about creating a module, but if you have a module in here and they've already built one in for us here with Introduction to Short Fiction, you can click this upload or create, and there's a couple different things that you can make, and you can set up a new assignment, new discussion, new quiz, new survey, new game map. All of those activities are already in there. You can also associate a current activity as well. So there are some, right, there it is. I was looking for assignments. I forgot they were in alphabetical order, but assignments is right up there. So you can either link to an existing assignment or you can upload and create a new one from this content area. Now the content area really is what the students primarily see. But for our purposes, I think it's easier to just go into assignments and then associate the assignment later on. That's just how I like to do it, but you can do it however you like. So here's the assignment I was kind of playing around with before, assignment 17. I'm going to make a new assignment. But before I do that, just to show you what some of these other little buttons here do, the more actions, you can reorder these. You can make things visible to users, you can hide them from users, or you can delete. You can also have categories. So if you have a class, you can see I created a category already. If you have a class where you have things weighted, having those categories, as you probably know already, is going to be pretty important. So I'm just going to make a few categories here, and let's see, tests. There we go. So now I've got different categories, and then I can close that up. I don't really use categories, but I just wanted to show you guys how it was done. So we're going to create a new assignment. And here, let's call this paper 1. You can leave things ungraded, or you can connect them automatically to the grade book. So let's say this is out of 100 points. Now, this is the most important part. Number 1, that you link things to the gradebook already. Okay, they'll automatically go in, and as I mentioned when I talked about the gradebook a couple of videos ago, if you manually override something, when you go back in to grade that item, like if a student didn't turn it in and then they turn it in later, you can, sorry, drop something there, you can have the grade automatically update as long as this is connected to the gradebook. The second important thing here is the due date. I'm going to set this for, let's see, April 1st, April Fool's Day. Why not? If you set it for, first of all, if you don't set the due date, students won't be able to see what's coming up, and they won't be able to get alerts on the fact that they have things due. So having that due date is pretty important. The second thing is that this auto-populates your calendar. You do not have to any longer. Gone are the days where we had to set up a calendar separately. We don't have to do that anymore. And I'll show you that in a minute because I'm super excited about it. I'm like, that's one of the things about Brightspace that I love. The gradebook links everything automatically, and the calendar auto-populates. So I had this assignment that I just copied and pasted in here. And again, some of these accessibility features are really helpful. If you want to see everything bigger, you can click the thing for full screen to edit your assignment. So I don't want a huge heading. let's just say heading 2, prompt, and then I showed you guys this before, but having these headlines can really help. Outline, sample outline, whatever the case may be. So you have all your directions here. Again, just like the announcements, you can bullet point things. You can put the, as long as they're accessible, you can change the color. I like that red. Let's see about that blue. The contrast there still works. Good. So you can change the color on things to bring attention to them if you want. You can add pictures, you can add a video. So if students are responding, like say to a YouTube video, you can link that right in there. If they have something that they need to read that's on a website, you can include the link in there as well. And if you're not sure how to do those things, you can go back and watch the video about announcements and emails. But if you teach other subjects that are not liberal arts, graphic equations and chemistry equations are in there, inserting tables, all of that kind of thing. So at any rate, I've got my basic thing here for my assignment, my basic directions. Now we have all this stuff over on the right. So availability and conditions. Here, the start date and end date don't refer to when the assignment is due. They refer to when students are able to see the assignment. I usually leave those blank because I like students to be able to see the class when they start, and they can see what's coming up and they can kind of plan their time. But if you want to hide things like, you don't want to overwhelm them, that would be a good reason for hiding them. You can hide things and have it, maybe you don't want this to show until 2 weeks before the project starts or whatever. Release conditions, you can create new or add existing conditions for when and how they're able to see it. And then we also have special access. So one of the things that you might do for this is when you click special access and managing it, there's certain users that can have access ahead of time outside the normal availability dates. So let's say you have a final exam and you've hidden it from students until final exams week, but you have a student with accommodations who needs to make their appointment in the testing center a week early, you can go in here and manage special access so that just that student can go in and see things ahead of time. So it's a really nice feature for those purposes. Submission and completion. Here we have this is an individual assignment. Right now I don't have group set up, but if you have a group assignment, you can set it that way as well. Equity for grading says to grade group members individually, but that's up to you. At any rate, I'm going to assign a category. This is in essays. And then I have submission type. I usually just leave this as file submission. But you can change it, for example, if students are doing something in class or you're observing them in person. I always leave this as unlimited. This is an option we had in Blackboard. In Blackboard, the default was one file, and you had to fix that to be a certain number of attempts. But I find that the unlimited just saves a lot of headaches. Nobody is emailing me and letting me know that they can't get back in because they submitted the wrong file. So having that set as the default helps. You can choose the type of file extensions you want. Here, again, the default is no restrictions, so I would leave that as it is. And you can also decide, do you want just the most recent submission capped or all of them? Again, I think that the default here is the best way to go because sometimes a student will submit things 4 times, but the third one is the one that they want you to read. You can get notification emails. I only use this option once the deadline has passed. If somebody is turning things in late, if I know 1 or 2 people didn't get stuff in, then I'll go back in and edit and receive a notification, just because that might be an item that I don't look at for a while because I've already graded it. So it's just helpful sometimes, but I wouldn't use it all the time because your email will be going crazy if you have like 5 or 6 classes. And then we have the evaluation and feedback. So honestly, for the most part, this is the only category that you're going to be using. I leave everything else just there as the default. If you want to add the category, you can. If you have a weighted class or weighted categories for your grading system. But for the rest of it, you're pretty much just going to use those defaults. Here, we're going to add the rubric. I'm not going to create a new, although I could. I'm going to add that existing rubric that I created last time. So I'm going to skim down. There it is, assignment 17, and I'm going to add selected. So now the rubric is associated with the assignment, and you can also manage learning objectives. So this is something that can be really helpful if you're doing assessment, because you can get the numbers automatically for whatever learning objectives you're looking at. For right now, I'm going to leave it blank, and you can mark to make annotation tools available if you want to type on their papers or write on them. And if you want to hide student names during the assessment, you can do that too. For certain classes, that's really helpful to eliminate bias, and I know we've had a poster session on that, so if that's something that you want to do, you can definitely do that there. Otherwise, my assignment's all set up, so I'm going to save and close. Now, here comes the fun part. The assignments are all here. All of my assignments are listed. You'll notice no category is here, and then all my categories follow that. So paper 1 is here. I can go in. I can copy that if I want all the same settings, but maybe a different assignment and a different date. Then all my settings kind of stay the same. So that's a nice thing to do if you don't want to have to go through and make sure all your settings are the way that they need to be. You can also manage the exemptions. You can hide from users. You can delete it, or you can edit it. You can also look at the submission log. So we'll look at what that looks like. Over here in our sample course, if I click submission log, I can see who submitted the assignment and the date and the time that they submitted the assignment. Not surprisingly, all 3 of our fake students submitted things right at the exact same time. That's suspicious. I can also see who started the assignment. This is really, really helpful because sometimes students have like a tech problem where they've started to submit and then something happens and it doesn't submit properly. So you can email those students really easily to tell them that their submission didn't go in completely. You can also, I talked about this before, you can, once you are in the assignment itself, here this is the poetry assignment, you can email the users without submissions. So it puts them all in that BCC, that blind carbon copy, and you can let them know that their submissions are missing. So that's a really nice feature here as well. But the best thing, oh, you can also edit the categories and whatever, but here we go. The best thing is this. When you go up to content, this is our full class. All the modules are going to show. Here's our course schedule. I'm going to click on that, and it auto-populated what was due. So I had a fake assignment due on the 30th, and then I have the one that I just made due on April 1st. It shows the students that it's due. It tells them the time that it's due, the date. They can collapse, or, well, I can edit or delete this if I want. So if I want to push that deadline back, I can edit that. Or if I say, hey, you know what, nobody's really ready to do a paper checkpoint, let me delete that. You can do that as well. But it's already in there in the course schedule with the full explanation that I just typed. And they can click on it, go directly to that assignment. So it's really, really helpful the way that they've structured things. I'm going to go into my test module, and here I'm going to click existing activities, assignments, and there's that paper 1, and now it is showing in that module as well. So you can have it be in the module. with everything else that you put into that module. You can have it automatically be in that course scheduler. And, there were certain things in Blackboard that were automatic. We did have a monthly calendar feature where all of the assignments would show up in a monthly calendar format. But for the most part, when you did a calendar, you had to completely type everything out. And what I love about this is that it's not only for the students, it's also for us. We can double check things much more easily, and then we can just edit and change that due date and not have to go through and retype the entire calendar or all of the modules for that part of the calendar. So that's it. That's how you create assignments. Next time, I'm going to be talking about discussions and how to set those up. Thanks, everybody.